In 1998, a man walked out of prison after serving only 14 years for a terrible crime. He murdered 300 children, 110 of whom he personally confessed to. But when he was released, something strange happened. Since then, no one has seen him. How does a man responsible for one of the most horrific crimes in history vanish without a trace? Did he change his identity? Was he helped to disappear? Or could he still be out there, living among us, hiding in plain sight? This is the terrifying story of a man who was once listed in the Guinness Book of World Records as the most prolific serial killer in history. This is the story of Pedro Lopez. Pedro Lopez was born in 1948 in the small town of Venadillo, Colombia. He was the seventh of 13 siblings, raised by his mother, Benilda Lopez, who worked as a laundry worker. According to Pedro, his mother was a prostitute, and their home was a battleground. There was no father to protect them. Pedro's father, Megdardo Reyes, was murdered in the violent conflict known as La Violencia, just 6 months before Pedro was born. From a very young age, Pedro would see his mother's clients coming and going. Imagine the impact on a child who grows up in such an environment. By the time he was 8 years old, Pedro had seen a world that no child should ever have to witness. On top of that, he received no love from his parents or siblings and was often beaten, making his childhood even worse. As a result, Pedro's mind began to nurture hatred for his family and the world. Pedro Lopez was just 8 years old when his mother caught him trying to harm his younger sister, and without hesitation, she threw him out onto the cold streets of Bogotá. The city was no place for a child alone. Pedro wandered the streets begging for food, but hunger wasn't his worst enemy. The real danger hid in the shadows, predators looking for weak, helpless boys like him. Again and again, he became their victim. To survive, he joined a gang of street kids. They taught him how to fight, steal, and never trust anyone. Then, at 12, hope arrived. An American family took him in. For the first time, he had a warm bed, a roof over his head, and people who seemed to care. But life had never been kind to Pedro. Just when he started to believe in a new beginning, a teacher shattered his fragile world once more. The betrayal burned deeper than any wound. He couldn't stay, not in that house, not in that life. So he ran, back to the streets, back to the only life he had ever known. But this time, something inside him had changed. The world had shown him nothing but pain. Now, it was his turn. In 1969, Lopez was sent to prison for stealing a car. While in prison, 3 inmates raped him. He later killed them, and his sentence was extended by 2 years. After his release in 1978, he traveled through South America, targeting young girls. He later claimed to have killed over 100 in Peru alone. One day, he was caught trying to kidnap a 9-year-old girl. An angry indigenous tribe buried him in the sand, leaving only his head above ground. But before they could kill him, an American missionary convinced them to hand him over to the police. Incredibly, instead of locking him up, the police just expelled him from Peru, letting him go free. After being deported from Peru, Pedro Lopez continued his killing spree. As more and more young girls went missing in the areas he passed through, authorities suspected human trafficking, but no one imagined a single man could be responsible. Then, in April 1980, heavy floods hit Ambato, Ecuador. As the waters washed away the land, a horrifying secret was uncovered: bodies of missing girls buried in shallow graves. This shocking discovery forced police to reopen their investigations, leading to Lopez's arrest later that year. After the floods, a woman named Carvina Poveda was walking to the market with her 12-year-old daughter, Marie, when Pedro Lopez tried to kidnap the girl. But this time, he wasn't lucky. Local shopkeepers caught him and held him until the police arrived. At first, Lopez stayed silent in custody, but when a police officer pretended to be a prisoner and shared a cell with him, Lopez finally started talking. He bragged about killing more than 200 girls in Ecuador, many in Peru, and even more in Colombia. He described how he lured his victims with small gifts, then assaulted and strangled them. Shockingly, he even admitted to digging up some bodies and having tea parties with them. When asked why he did it, he coldly replied, "I lost my innocence at 8. So I decided to do the same to as many girls as I could." Lopez later led the police to the graves of 53 victims, and investigators confirmed he had killed at least 110 girls in Ecuador alone. In 1980, he was sentenced to 16 years in prison, the maximum punishment the law allowed at the time. Lopez served his sentence at Garcia Moreno prison near Quito, but was released 2 years early, on August 31, 1994, for good behavior. Before his release, he called himself himself the man of the century, showing no remorse for his crimes. After being freed, he was deported to Colombia, where authorities detained him for entering illegally. However, prosecutors couldn't build a case against him, so he was declared insane and sent to a mental hospital. 4 years later, in 1998, doctors ruled him sane, and he was released on just $70 bail. He was supposed to check in with authorities regularly, but he disappeared almost immediately. The last confirmed sighting of Lopez was in September 1999, when he went to renew his citizenship card. In 2002, Colombian police and Interpol issued a warrant for his arrest after a murder matching his methods, but he was never found. Though the Interpol warrant was dropped in 2005, Lopez remains a fugitive. Some even suspect he was involved in a murder in Tunja, Colombia in 2012. Since then, there has been no sign of him. Did he change his identity? Is he still out there, hiding in plain sight? No one knows. Maybe he died alone, forgotten. Or maybe, just maybe, he's walking among us right now. The world may never know. But one thing is certain: Pedro Lopez left behind a trail of horror that still haunts the families of his victims. What do you think happened to him? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to hear more terrifying true crime stories, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because some stories are too chilling to be ignored. Stay safe and be aware of the world around you.